Hello, Mr. Gazza here, homework 582. Here we go. It shows three beakers full of sediments, A, B, and C. Hopefully you can realize we're going to call this really well sorted, all the same size, really well sorted, really well sorted. So within the really well sorted and really rounded, like perfect spheres. So well rounded, well sorted within each of these. That's key. Which will have the highest porosity? You need to know what porosity is. And in case you don't know, porosity is how much water it can store in the pore space. So if you fill it up to the top here, top here, top here, how much water goes into the empty space. Now, key thing to this, this is a tricky one because in this, A, B, and C are the same. Know that. Because they're well-rounded and well-sorted, that mathematically all three of them will hold the same amount of water. Know that. Okay, 2, which will have the lowest permeability. Now we're talking about water flowing through. Water flowing through if it was open on the bottom. Lowest permeability means it flows through slowest, most difficulty flowing through, and that is a function of size. Now lowest permeability would be A, the smallest. C would have the highest, A would have the lowest or smallest, and so that's the answer there. Which will have the highest capillary action? Again, if water went through it, drained out, excuse me, which would that's water retention. So let's jump ahead and do that. That's water retention. Which will have the lowest water retention? Water flowing through, water flowing through, water flowing through. That is the water that will stay in there, trapped on the surface and within the little spaces there. That is what water retention is. The least water retention means it keeps the least amount in would be C. The larger particles will have the lowest water retention, and A would have the most. The spaces are smallest, and there's more surface area to cling to, so that will have the highest water retention, A. Now, let's go back to 3, which I accidentally skipped. Which will have the highest capillary action? That is, let's say you've put the water up to here, up to here, up to here, and that's water creeping upward. Okay, because it clings to the surfaces in the little small spaces and moves upwards, like water moving upward in a paper towel. And that is also a function of size. The smaller the particles and the smaller the spaces between the particles, the more capillary action. A would have the highest capillary action. Know that as well. Be able to apply that capillary action information. And let me see, 5. In a heavy thunderstorm, which is most likely to flood? The thought process here confuses some people. Most likely to flood. Flood is water staying on the surface. To stay on the surface, water has to be difficult or to go into, or would go in very slowly. That's what causes flooding. Therefore, most likely to flood. Well, the water's going to go into this with the fastest, second fastest. This is going to go in the slowest, so A is most likely to flood. So this is that kind of thought pattern. You really got to be able to think that through. Most likely to flood is A, least likely would be C. Ready to go on to the back? Great. Actually, I see that my marker kind of went through it. It's kind of bad. Excuse me. The cross section below shows soil layer X, which was formed from underlying bedrock. Soil layer X right here towards the surface. Which change would most likely cause soil layer X to increase in thickness? The answer here would be decrease in slope, not decrease in rainfall, increase in biologic activity. The answer, increase in biologic activity. More biologic activity, more plants, plant life growing, dying, decaying, added to the soil, more worms in the soil, worms pooping, adding to the soil, adding to the amount of the soil. So 3 is the answer. Increase in biologic activity. That is a key thing. And actually, you need more rainfall would usually lead to soil thickness. More rainfall, more plants grow. Living life needs water to grow. So definitely not decrease in rainfall. 2. Which set of surface soil conditions on a hillside will result in the most infiltration of rainfall? Most infiltration of water going into the ground, easiest. So, excuse me, so water hits the ground, rainfall is going to do one of 2 things. It's going to run off, stay on the surface and run off and go downhill, or go into the ground. We're looking for going into the ground. So, Let's see some that it's not. Talk about slope, gentle slope versus steep slope. Well, it's not steep slope, because if it's a steep slope, let's say even here, steep slope, water's going to hit, it's going to run off. It doesn't have that time to soak in. So we can cross out 3 or 4. And the answer is going to be 2. Okay. 2. Gentle slope, unsaturated soil, so it doesn't have a lot of water in it, and vegetation. Vegetation increases permeability and infiltration. It slows water going downhill, and vegetation helps to increase the, keeps the soil loose. It helps keep the soil loose, so vegetation is good for infiltration. No vegetation, the soil gets packed down more, and it leads to less infiltration, more runoff. Know these things are important. 3, which soil surface type has the slowest permeability rate and is most likely to produce flooding? Slowest permeability rate, water going in the slowest. We're looking for, you got to think about what size, large or small size sediment. You have to know that in your head. The answer is small. Okay? And if I could find a reference table, I'm going to find a reference table over here. Here we go. I can find a reference table over here. Pebble, sand, silt, clay. You probably know those, but just in case you don't, to know exactly where they are, you can look here. You can look here and realize that smallest, and then it goes up this way. So you want the smallest sediment. Clay is the smallest. 4, clay is the smallest. That's your answer. Question 4. The cross-section below shows sedimentary bedrock layers A, B, C, D exposed at our surface. Which layer appears to be the least resistant to weathering? Least resistant. It resists weathering the least. Therefore, it's been weathered the most. That is where people get tripped up. And you can tell by how far back it is. The further back it is shown this way, the more it's been weathered. So this has been weathered the least. This is most resistant. D. A appears to be the least resistant right there. So choice 1, which is A, is the least resistant. Know that as well. Know that. So for myself, Mr. Gaza, and everyone at Gazdoni Productions, thank you for watching.